Here's a real world example of multi-tenancy. So the other day I went to katacoda.com. It's a website where you can practice Kubernetes stuff hands-on. They spin up a cluster for you or whatever they do behind the scenes. You're not supposed to know. You're just a tenant using their cloud resources, and it's free. You can just log on and practice Kubernetes stuff right in the browser. Now, why wouldn't you do it locally? You can. The setup's kind of annoying for someone just trying to dive in and out. You'd have to kind of set up your own whole little test cluster, probably using something like Minikube. It takes longer. So it's a very needed service. Now, when you use this site, you are a tenant in a multi-tenant situation. That means that you are sharing computer resources with other people on the website. Why is that dangerous? Because, if things aren't segregated perfectly, then maybe other people can spread malware to you. Maybe the nodes are infected. It can be a bad situation, basically. And actually, when I went to katacoda.com, there was a message saying, hey guys, sorry, we're going to hide our site behind a paywall because there's too many hackers in here, like crypto mining. They mentioned crypto mining, I think ransomware. Yeah, so no more katacoda.com for free. That's hard multi-tenancy. So we're talking about chapter, I think 7 of this book. Yeah, chapter 7, hard multi-tenancy. And I'm just going to go into defining hard multi-tenancy and how it's a little different from soft multi-tenancy. And I guess just refer back to katacoda.com as an example throughout. So, soft multi-tenancy. You have tenants. They're sharing compute resources, just like on katacoda.com. But in soft multi-tenancy, there's some trust, right? These tenants, these people, they're not random. They could be like developers within the same team, people working within the same company in general. You have some trust in a soft multi-tenancy approach to multi-tenancy. That makes it easier, basically, for the person setting this up. It could be a DevOps person. Because you don't have to define strict security boundaries between tenants. You don't have to worry about people like trying to break the walls that you've set up for them between tenants. These walls in Kubernetes are like namespaces, DNS, like network stuff. You don't want them to be seeing each other's IPs. You don't want them to be using each other's resources. But in soft multi-tenancy, you assume that they're not going to try to mess things up on purpose. They might accidentally use up, more compute resources than you would like them to. And since they're on the same cluster as other tenants, that takes resources away from other tenants. And so you set up guardrails. You set up resource limits, basically, which Kubernetes gives you the tools to do. You can configure that. No big deal. So soft multi-tenancy is easy for setting up and for the tenants. There's not a lot of restrictions in a soft multi-tenancy environment. Hard multi-tenancy is different. Hard multi-tenancy assumes that the person that's in your system, you don't trust them at all. You pretty much assume the worst. So it's like there's a cluster and each tenant has a pod and they're all fucking hackers. And they're all running code and they all have a shell, and it's your job as the ops person to make sure that none of them can get to the node running the cluster and mess things up for the organization. That's hard multi-tenancy. Naturally, that's difficult because it's not impossible, but generally in a cybersecurity scenario, you assume that most people aren't going to be able to get a shell on your system like that. A shell on your system, or in this case, like in a container that's in a pod on a Kubernetes cluster, that shouldn't be like an end all be all like cluster down. But vulnerabilities can be chained, things can be misconfigured. DNS is really hard in Kubernetes to like lock down in a multi-tenant situation. So things leak. Kubernetes wasn't built for hard multi-tenancy. And in the katacoda.com situation, it kind of shows. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about multi-tenancy. Do check out the article. It's more informational than these talks. This is chapter 7 of Hacking Kubernetes, Threat-Driven Analysis, written by Andrew Martin and Michael Hausenblas. Hope I said that right. Stay sharp. Peace out.